We are Tottenham TV, and today we're going to be analysing Tottenham's Europa League route, the route to the final, to the route to success, the route to glory, and the route to Bilbao. And yeah, we fly out to Amsterdam tomorrow. I'm very much looking forward to the tie against AZ Alkmaar, a team that we have already faced in the Europa League. But we're going to be looking at who we can get in the next round, who we can get in the semis, who we can potentially get in the final as well. And we're going to be analysing each and every team that we could cross paths with. But let's start off with the game on Thursday night.
I just want to say, before we get into it, I know we're going to get comments. Oh, why are you looking at games ahead? Just concentrate one game at a time. Stop looking too far ahead. Look, we're going to live in a hypothetical world where we make it to the final, and we're going to see how we could get there and what we think our route's going to be and how realistic that route is, how realistic it is us actually getting there. So just before you guys in the comments start going on us about why are you looking too far ahead, just take it a game at a time. This is a hypothetical world, so let's just all calm down before you all go crazy.
Sim preempting the hate comments in the comments. Yeah, so let's start off with the RZ game. Obviously, that's the one on Thursday night. A week on Thursday as well will be the return leg at Tottenham, a team which we've already faced this season, and they've got some tricky players in their team. Having a fairly good season out in the Eredivisie this year. They do have injuries coming into the game, as do Spurs, obviously. When we did play them earlier on in the group stage, they did provide a tricky opposition, albeit Spurs had, I think Spurs will put out a stronger team over the course of these two legs than we did out in the first leg. But in terms of where they are in their league, they currently sit sixth, I think that is.
That's sixth at the moment. Currently, I think for goals scored, they're mid-table. They're like seventh. But for goals against, they actually are one of the better teams. I think they're... I'll had it up here, but I think they're second, I think, to Ajax for goals conceded. So they actually have a pretty good defence when it comes to, interestingly enough, when you watch them, I watched them against Galatasaray. They blew them away in the playoff round. Galatasaray was seen as one of the teams to fear in this competition with some of the players they signed, obviously Osimhen up front. And AZ took them to the cleaners. They really did. Both legs deservedly winning, and comfortably so. And especially the home leg winning 4-1, especially when Galatasaray were down to 10 men. This is how they're doing, obviously, as you say, in the Eredivisie. They're sixth. Their home form, about seventh in the Eredivisie, but away form is a bit better. They're fourth in the Eredivisie in their away form. So a very young team. I think one of the youngest teams left in the competition. But they do have some experience. If you remember Jordi Clasie from Southampton, little Dutch central midfielder, has had a good career for himself. He currently plays up front, in midfield for RZ. Obviously, one guy that we're hoping doesn't come back to bite us is their striker, Troy Parrott, who is on 18 goal contributions in all competitions this season.
Having an astonishing season. And those players, Jordi Clasie and Troy Parrott, both scored in their 4-1 demolition of Galatasaray in the round before. And, that's not to be sniffed at to beat Galatasaray over the course of two legs. We saw what a good team they are when we played them. They, played us off the park for a majority of that game, albeit we did have, a kind of a fairly weakened team out there. But for RZ to go to Galatasaray and beat them over two legs is very impressive. It is also worth noting that since we last played, which was on the 26th of February, they've actually played twice in that time. They've got taken all the way to penalties, extra time and penalties in this cup semi-final against Heracles, and then they played Herenveen as well on the weekend when we had a weekend off because of, it was obviously FA Cup weekend. So that is also something worth noting because they've played two lots of games in the space of before we played our last.
Yeah, they're a young team. They're a bit of a fearless team as well. They like to go at teams, and they're actually quite organised defensively, which is what led them to quite a good defensive record. Albeit when you get to Europa League, they did finish 19th, and their goals against record isn't as good. They did concede 13 goals in 8 games in the group stages of the Europa League. So didn't seem to do as well defensively maybe when the competition rose in Europa League, but in their home in the Dutch games, they're very good defensively, and I think they're an exciting project, but maybe it's a year too soon when it comes to real challenging for competitions. But again, we cannot underestimate them because we saw what they did to Galatasaray, and they are definitely a team that on their day they can really get at you and can play some really great football, really fast-paced football, and a young team that could run all day and all night. That was the biggest difference I saw when they played Galatasaray, just their running. They were able to run so much, and that is something we've got to be wary of, and something we tried to do to other teams.
Yeah, they did play Galatasaray in the group stages as well, drawing 1-1. They also beat Roma in the group stages 1-0, so clearly no pushovers. In terms of the form of RZ coming into it, obviously they are on the back of a loss to Heerenveen on the weekend, but prior to that, they're on really good form. I think as it stands, they are the fourth form team in the Eredivisie. If you cast your mind back to when we played them in the group stages, they were actually currently off form at that point. I think on the back of like 4 or 5 losses in a row. So we are coming up a team, albeit on the back of a loss, but a team on form.
Yeah, and that momentum's a very powerful thing in football. And you can see how momentum took them into that Galatasaray game and did them the world of good. And they looked better than they have in the whole of Europa League, I would say, when they played Galatasaray. So I think that's definitely something away from home when we go to their ground on Thursday, something to really be careful of. But are we favourites for this tie? Still, yes. As much as RZ are good and definitely can't be underestimated, we do have more talent, obviously, with players coming back. So I'm confident we can still have the quality over them, but I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if some of these moments turn into a bit of basketball when we play them.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about favourites, we should really be favourites for all these ties because we're actually the favourites for the tournament.
Yeah, but I actually disagree. I think the favourite. I think they United are third favourites, and I don't think they're favourites for Sociedad. Like I think Sociedad are favourites.
That's
So,
also true.
like I don't take much stock in the bookies, but yeah, I think for this one we're definitely favourites.
You're moving on to the next round. If we do get past RZ, we play either Ajax or Eintracht Frankfurt.
So I guess we'll stick with Ajax for now.
Yeah, so obviously if you want to compare Ajax to AZ, you're talking about a definite step up in class. Ajax are sitting top of the Eredivisie right now. Not the Ajax teams of old, definitely not like the Ajax team that you saw face Spurs in the Champions League semi-final. Definitely quite a few steps down from that, but they're still dominating their division.
Yeah, and I think the main thing here to point out, obviously they're top, but as well, 18 goals conceded in 24 games defensively, really shoring things up this season, which is not what you associate Ajax with, beautiful football, carving teams open. I think they're still the second top highest scorers, but they're defensively is where they've really got their position in the league, 8 points clear at the top. Top home form and top away form as well. So either home or away, they seem to be doing well. And you look at some of their defenders. I know they lost Divine Wrench to Roma in January, but he was a big defender for them. But Hato, the 18-year-old,
Jarell Hato,
he's been a real revelation for Ajax this season, really playing week in, week out. You got Sutalo as well. I really like him, the Croatian. I saw him, I think, one of the tournaments. He was doing really well in one of the European tournaments. So he's one that he's also done very well. They obviously have some forward players without Weghorst, to name one, playing up front for them. But yeah, they did absolutely scrape past USG in the last round, though, very nearly getting knocked out, needed an extra time penalty to scrape through. If you watch that game, they were on the back foot for a lot of it. Obviously, Jordan Henderson part of the team as well.
How they got through that.
Yeah, I don't know how, because USG were 2-0 up. Ajax had Ajax had to save themselves, and they did just about. But is it written in the stars kind of moment for them? Because they are doing quite well in the league. They didn't do that great in the Europa League group stages, finished 12th. But 4 points worse off than Tottenham in the group stages. But again, defensively, 8 goals conceded, 8 games. So still quite good defensively, even in the group stages.
So if you look at the Eredivisie top goal scorers, they've actually got 4 players all in the top 4. So Wout Weghorst, like you mentioned, is one of them. Davy Klaassen, if you remember him, he's there. They've got a player called Kenneth Taylor, and their top goal scorer is Oliver Edvardsen. So Oliver is an interesting one because he's actually not starting too many games at the moment in recent weeks, but still able to pull through those goals.
Yeah, Bertrand Traoré, we all know him well from his time in the Premier League.
Yeah.
He's still one of their main players. And Davy Klaassen, as you say, former Everton not Man United, former Everton. No, he didn't go to Man United. I'm thinking of the other guy, Van den Beek. But David Klassen was in the Premier League for a bit, didn't do too great.
He did play for Everton, didn't he?
He played for Everton. I was thinking if he played for United, but that's Van den Beek. But yeah, Klassen played for Everton only for a short time. Wasn't very good there.
And they've also got Brian Brobby, who had that link to Spurs in the January transfer window, had only scored 1 goal at that time. Now he's on 4 goals and he's started to find his feet again in the season.
And Chubab Akpom, still there.
Former Arsenal player.
Former Arsenal, came from the Championship in Middlesbrough, so he was quite good. But obviously, so they're a team, again, doing well, top of the league. So, whether we're favourites for that, I think... I guess it kind of depends what form we're going into that game, because obviously that'll be in April. But if obviously Van de Ven and Romero are kind of back in the team and solid in the team with Solanke as well, and we're going into that game in good momentum, I would make us favourites. But if we were to play Ajax before we played, like if we played Ajax when we were playing AZ in round 16, I'm not necessarily, I'm sure I wouldn't make us favourites. It kind of depends.
AZ Alkmaar are on a crazy run against Ajax at the moment. Ajax haven't beaten Alkmaar since 2022.
Didn't know that.
Which is mad to think about. So they had a 2-2 in 2022, then a 2-1 win to Alkmaar in 2022, 2023 0-0, 2023 2-1 to Alkmaar in Ajax, then 2-0 to Alkmaar in Ajax, 2-1 to Alkmaar in Alkmaar, and then very recently they knocked them out the quarterfinals of the cup as well, 2-0.
Impressive.
Yeah. So
but they have to get past Frankfurt in the round of 16 for them, who obviously former Europa League winners not so long ago under Oli Glasner, currently 3rd in the Bundesliga. So doing quite well, having a decent season by all accounts. Bundesliga's got a lot of good teams in there, like Leipzig, Dortmund. I know they're not doing too well, but Frankfurt really take advantage of that. So they're currently 3rd. However,
wow, Mainz are up in 4th, are they?
Mainz are up in 4th. Not quite close to Leverkusen or Bayern, but one caveat to Frankfurt is their recent form. Ferencváros was Mamouche's last game. That was on the 23rd of Jan. They've only won 1 game, you can see, since that Mamouche is leaving. So Mamouche leaving has derailed their season a bit, albeit their fixtures have been fairly difficult. They've played likes of Bayern, the likes of Leverkusen, likes of Wolfsburg, Roma as well. So it's not like they had an easy Mönchengladbach. So a lot of good teams in there. Yeah. So you can forgive them, a few of them, for not winning. But the reality is, since Mamouche has left, there's only 1 win there.
Yeah, 1 win in their last 7. And if you look at the form table in the Bundesliga, they actually currently sit 12th, which would suggest that they might drop a little bit. But, I do probably back them with the quality that they do have to find their form again and to end up finishing in that top 4. But they're a solid side. I mean, we played them not long ago and beat them, what was it, 2-0 that we beat them in?
Oh, in the Champions League,
yeah.
We drew 0-0 at Frankfurt and we won 3-2.
3-2, sorry, that was it. But one player, which is obviously the names on everyone's lips in Frankfurt at the moment, is Hugo Ekitike. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but that is the way it's spelt. And since Mamouche has gone, I mean, not since Mamouche has gone, but he's been brilliant for them all season. And a reason why they were content to let Mamouche go is because the emergence of him this season.
Yeah, 16 goal contributions in the Bundesliga this season. What's quite interesting, though, is so you got Mamouche on 24, you got Ekitike, I think it is, Ekitike, on 16 goal contributions, and then after that, a massive drop to Nathaniel Brown. So clearly quite reliant on those two, I think, for goal contributions this season in the Bundesliga. And I do think Mamouche has been a massive miss. So I do wonder who I'd rather face if we get through to RZ. Would it be Frankfurt or would it be Ajax?
I think I'd rather face Ajax.
You'd rather face Ajax?
I think so. I know Ajax are probably the team with more form behind them at the moment, but I feel like Frankfurt are the better side. They are in a better league as well, sitting 3rd. Yeah, I know they've lost their talisman in Mamouche, but I feel like we'd able to beat Ajax a bit better, a bit easier.
Yeah, I feel like Frankfurt might be the better team, but then, as I say, momentum's big, and since Mamouche is leaving, maybe they're going to go on a downward spiral. Maybe, if Ajax are still killing it in the league for them, maybe that'll give them that momentum to kind of overcome Frankfurt.
At this current moment in time, but we're talking about a game that's probably going to happen in May.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know what can happen and what the momentum will be like in a month's time.
It'll be April, yeah. in the quarters.
Yeah. Oh, fine, April, but still, like, there's still a long way to go till that time, so you don't know who the momentum will be with. So I don't think it's, you can comment on that, but I think you've just got to look at who's the better team and who we're more likely to beat, and I think that's Ajax.
Yeah, I think I'll probably rather play. I think Frankfurt are a bit more quality than Ajax, but Ajax are still top of the Eredivisie. They're having a very good season. And defensively, we do struggle against teams who are quite good defensively. I think Frankfurt are a bit mid-table for defensive stats, whereas Ajax, at the moment anyway, against their opposition, doing quite well. And in Europa League, they did as well. So
another interesting player for Frankfurt is who they brought in January to replace Marmoush was Eli Wahi.
Eli Wahi and Batshuayi they brought in.
Did they bring in Batshuayi? I didn't even know they brought in Batshuayi. But Wahi obviously was unbelievable in the French league, and they brought him in from Marseille. But he hasn't scored a goal yet, but he's only played 4 games.
He's a bit of a wild card.
Yeah.
He was brilliant in the French league for a couple of teams. I remember for last season, I think it was for Lens in the Champions League, scored against Arsenal, I think, when they won. So he was one controversial figure, it's fair to say, Eli Wahi.
Yeah.
But
less said the better, to be honest.
But he's one who's very difficult. But look, I think it's fair to say, if we beat AZ, whoever we're facing, there's 2 fairly difficult teams.
I'm just looking at their team. They've actually got a really good... They've got Trapp in goal. They've got Arta Teatra, however you pronounce that, in defence, with Robin Koch, former Leeds player. They got Rasmus Christensen, who Spurs have been linked with over the past year. And they've also got...
I think no, it's a different Christensen, I think, isn't it?
No, it's the same one.
He's a fullback.
No,
I thought the guy played for Udinese, didn't he?
Maybe you're right. But I think we have been linked with this guy as well. But anyway, Mario Götze in the middle of the park with Hugo Larsson, who's definitely been linked with Spurs.
Yeah, Hugo Larsson, we just talked about it. Obviously, Brown. They also play wing backs as well, back 3, which is something that we do sometimes struggle with as well. So I think Götze's a bit past it, but he's still got quality, doesn't he, Mario Götze? You don't just lose that quality.
Starting week in, week out. Unbelievable.
And they do have the likes of AZ Alkmaar, Batshuayi is off the bench, and Dahoud, who was a good player for Dortmund. He's on the bench for them. So they do have quality in there, for sure. But you also, with Ajax, what you don't know is there's these talented youngsters who you just never heard of, and they just got unbelievable academy, and they can just bring them in, and you struggle against them. But all right, so we're going to be playing one of those 2 in the quarters if we get there. That's going to be difficult. Would you say we should be favourites for either team?
100%. Yeah, I think I do. Like I said, I think it'll be harder against Frankfurt, but I think we go into both legs against either of those sides and being favourites home and away.
I think if Frankfurt still had Marmoush, I wouldn't make us favourites.
I still would.
I wouldn't. I think, look, they're third in the Bundesliga. That can't be sniffed at. It's a good league. And if they're that high up, they're there for a reason. I think Marmoush was a big part of that. Yeah. And losing him is going to hurt a lot, I think. And I think it's going to take some adjusting to. So I'd make us favourites now, but I think if Marmoush was there, I wouldn't make us favourites.
I still think we would have just about been favourites, but I think it would have been a lot more even. But yeah, look, I think we are favourites against Ajax or Frankfurt in their current state, that's for sure. So if we do win against one of those teams, that puts us in the semi-final, which we've got a choice to play Bodo Glimt, Olympiacos, who play each other, or Pilsen play Lazio. Obviously, the glaring one is Lazio, who finished top of
They're going to be massive favourites.
Yeah, they won top of the... They finished top of the group stages, which is very impressive. I think they finished top.
Yeah, they finished top of the Europa League, yeah.
But a really good team who I'm always impressed when I see them play is Bodo Glimt.
They always give good teams a ride. I think the name always, kind of makes people think it's going to be an easy game, and then they always turn up and have a good performance. They don't always win, but they usually surprise a few people, Bodo Glimt.
They beat Porto in the group stages. They beat Braga in the group stages.
Porto went out, didn't they?
They lost 3-2 to Manchester United, but that was a very tight game. So I think they drew 1-1 with Nice as well. So they give teams from top leagues a good ride every time. They definitely know how to score a goal, that's for sure. But
if we think the favourite from that tie will go through, and which is Lazio. If Lazio don't get through against Victoria Pilsen, Olympiacos and Bodo Glimt, let's be fair, it'll be a major shock.
Yeah.
So if we're assuming it'll be Lazio in the semis, they are having also a very good season, and in Serie A right now, 5th in Serie A, which you can see, only 2 points behind Juventus, only 8 points off the top. So technically still in a title race there, Lazio. they have been pretty consistent the whole season as well. I thought it was Maurizio Sarri was their manager still, but it's not. He left at the end of the season,
Baroni.
so it's Baroni. So he's come in and has got some excitement going at Lazio, changed the way they're playing. They play a kind of 4-3-3 system. And as you say, they won the Europa League group stage, finishing first. Impressively, winning 6, drawing 1, losing 1, with the highest goal difference as well, of +12. I think no one scored more than them. Only Galatasaray scored more than them. They got 17 goals, but the most impressive thing, only 5 goals conceded in that group stage in Europa League. We actually scored the same amount as them, but we conceded 4 more. We conceded 9, they conceded 5. So they had a brilliant Europa League campaign, and obviously just on the weekend they beat Inter Milan at home. And they're having a fantastic season. Some of their main top goal scorers you can see here.
They beat AC Milan.
It was AC Milan. I thought it was Inter Milan. Sorry, they beat Milan. Nuno Tavares was one of the highest assisting fullbacks in Europe at the moment. Former Arsenal fullback. Incredible. 8 goals and assists. Still relying on Pedro, 37-year-old Pedro, all the way from Chelsea. 6 goal contributions in the Serie A, but their main guy, Zaccagni, and Castellanos, both doing very well in the forward line. Zaccagni is their captain, and he's a goal-scoring from midfield. And also got Boulaye Dia, if you remember him. We were heavily linked with him a few years ago before he went to Lazio. He's kind of been a bit inconsistent, but this season they're starting to get a few more goal contributions for them.
Yeah. They've got Matteo Guendouzi as well, former Arsenal central midfielder, who Arteta obviously kicked out of the club. But yeah, it's an interesting one, Lazio, because they are, in my opinion, definitely the strongest team to face in our side of the draw. And the group table shows it, the Serie A table shows it, in my opinion. But I still think it's a team that's definitely beatable. And it will set up a really interesting tie with all those ex-Arsenal players in there coming to face Tottenham in a European semi-final.
So if we get to a semi with Lazio, do you make us favourites?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't make us favourites.
Why not?
I think that because they're a good team. They're a very good team.
They've got better players now.
Not better players, but they're a better team right now, for sure. In where they are right now, I think if we can get ourselves playing again like we were near the beginning of the season or at times last season, I think we can go toe to toe with them for sure. But I think right now, I don't make us favourites for a tie against Lazio. I think they would be favourites.
I make us favourites. I think we're the better team for sure. And I think the Premier League is obviously a lot stronger than Serie A. Obviously, they're doing very well this season, don't get me wrong. But I still think the quality that Spurs have with the players that we've got coming back, I think we're a stronger outfit than them.
I think we have better players. And I think when we're our best, we can beat them for sure. But I think I would just say right now, I think Lazio would fancy their chances against us. And I think...
Yeah, them fancying them chances doesn't make them
No,
favourites.
I think right now, I struggle to see us beating them.
I think any team probably in our side of the draw probably fancy their chances against us.
No, I think other teams would fear us. I think RZ wouldn't want to play us, to be honest. I think Lazio wouldn't mind it. I think Lazio would see themselves as favourites going into it.
I think RZ look at the first game that we played against them, a narrow 1-0 win with a penalty, and think about, we can probably have this team.
Not with our full team.
Yeah, but that's what they'll be thinking. They'll be thinking, we've got a good chance to go through here.
Yeah, but this is a team who's high up in the Serie A,
doing
very well, and also won the Europa League group stage, finishing first. So they're going to be very confident. They're going to be very confident.
Then they'll have their reasons to be confident, and they'll be right to be confident. But I still make Spurs the favourites to go through.
I don't. And then, if we do magically, we'll beat all these teams and get to a final. We're thinking, sorry, one sec. Probably, look, when it comes to
we'll go through
the Europa League.
Because in the other side of the draw, you've got Fenerbahce to play Rangers. You would probably say Fenerbahce win that. You've got Roma against Bilbao. You'll probably say Bilbao. That'll be a really tight game, Bilbao against Roma. But I think Bilbao will go through. They did a lot better in the group stages. Roma finishing 15th is a big disappointment.
Yeah. Scraped past Roma, but it was past Porto, but it was a good win. And actually, Ranieri's got them on really good form.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, it'll be a very tight game, but I still think Bilbao should nick it with the quality they have. So you're looking at a Fenerbahce Bilbao semi-final. The other semi-final, you'll probably say Lyon beat FCSB from Romania, and Sociedad against Manchester United. I think Man United have it within them to shithouse a kind of two-legged victory, but I think Sociedad are not doing great themselves this season.
No, they're not.
Let's be real. So I think anyone can win that game, but I think Sociedad will probably go through.
I make Sociedad favourites in that.
So you're looking at a Sociedad-Lyon semi-final with a Bilbao-Fenerbahce semi-final. Bilbao-Fenerbahce, I mean, Jose just has a knack of doing these things and getting through.
Obviously, Bilbao will be favourites, but Fenerbahce...
I wouldn't rule out Fenerbahce.
No, I'm just saying Bilbao will be favourites.
Yeah, Bilbao will be favourites.
But Fenerbahce... they've also got a very Jose team. If you look at his team, a lot of experienced players with a lot of quality.
What about Milan Skriniar at the back?
Skriniar, you got El Nesri, you got Tadic, you got a lot of these players who Mourinho not knows per se. Dzeko, I think, as well up there. So a lot of experienced players who he trusts. A lot of players who he trusts. A lot of known players. So that's a good team there, but it is an old team.
Yeah.
And Bilbao have a bit more freshness
got Alan
about them.
Saint-Maximin.
Saint-Maximin. They have a team that Mourinho trusts.
Sofian Amrabat.
Who's who of the Premier League?
Yeah, literally. Yeah, look, obviously Bilbao will be the favourites. I mean, yeah, Bilbao will be favourites to win that semi-final, but I would not discount and just sweep away Jose's Fenerbahce because they can do a job. They are capable of pulling off a surprise there. But let's say, for argument's sake, Bilbao do.
Well, put it this way: I've offered you a final between Bilbao or Fenerbahce. Which one do you rather?
Fenerbahce for sure, but the prospect of coming up against Jose in a final actually terrifies me. So I'll probably say Bilbao.
And then Lyon against either Sociedad or United. I mean, FCSB I wouldn't rule out as well. But anyway, Lyon will be favourites. I think.
Yeah, remember, Man United finished third in the Europa.
They did. But they weren't that impressive, even though they finished third.
No, they weren't. And Lyon and Real Sociedad couldn't even finish in the top 8. They finished 13th.
Yeah, true. But they...
it's not a given that Man United go out in that tie.
No, it's not a given. I just make Sociedad favourites, but it's not a given.
Both of them are just having horror seasons, really.
Yeah. I feel like just Sociedad know what they're doing a bit more, rather than United, who are just a bit of a mess at the moment.
No. I mean, I haven't seen Sociedad
I watched them play in their last round. Who did they play? Midtjylland.
Yeah.
And I know Midtjylland gave him a game, but I thought Sociedad looked quite solid.
I mean, you should expect them to look solid against a Midtjylland.
I'm just saying, I don't look solid against anyone, is my point.
Yeah, but they do seem to shithouse these wins, United.
Yeah, they do. They do have a way. But I still think whoever comes up, whether it's Fenerbahce or Athletic, they beat whoever they come up against. So I do think that they're going to get to the final.
So yeah, I think it's going to be one of Bilbao or Fenerbahce in the final. And if I'm a betting man, I'd probably say Bilbao.
And if you look at how Bilbao, obviously the final's in Bilbao.
Yeah.
So that's obviously another extra motivation for them.
I would rather play Fenerbahce then.
And then they're fourth in La Liga. Yeah. They're currently only 6 points off Real Madrid, so not even far off Real Madrid, who aren't having the best season, but they're 9 points off the top. So
they are 4 points off dropping out the top 4 as well.
They're also, but they're 10 points off like 6. So they're in a really good position. They've been pretty consistent the whole season. Their form at the moment is a bit mixed, a lot of draws, a few losses as well. Just lost at the Athletic derby as well to Atletico Madrid. But
is that a derby?
Huh?
Is that a derby?
Atletico Madrid versus Athletic Bilbao?
Yeah.
Is it not a derby?
I don't think so.
Pretty sure it's a derby.
No, Atletico Madrid's derby is Real Madrid.
But there's also against Athletic Club. It's also a derby.
Is it?
Yeah, isn't it?
Completely different areas of Spain.
Pretty sure it's a derby.
I don't think so. But anyway, doesn't really make a difference.
Anyway, I'm pretty sure it is a derby. But so they're fourth, doing very well. Obviously, their main players, they got what's his name, Nico Williams, who is one of the most sought after wingers at the moment.
It's interesting, Nico Williams though, but if you look at his goal contributions, he's actually not doing too well this season.
He's on, only 8 goal contributions in La Liga, so not the best season, but obviously
a lot of these goal contributions have come in like the last 3 or 4 games.
So maybe he's coming into form.
Yeah, which is obviously not great for us. But, you know, against Valladolid the other week, he got 2 goals and an assist in a 7-1 win. And that's like the majority of his goals.
That's 3 of them, 3 out of 8.
Yeah.
Inaki Williams is still scoring.
He's actually doing better in goal contributions than his brother, which is crazy.
He's been there for a while, Inaki Williams.
Yeah.
But the guy who's in the most form is what's his name? I can't pronounce his name.
Berenguer.
Not him. This guy.
Sanhe.
Yeah. He's been fantastic this season. He's really providing a lot of goals for them, and he's one I'd be very worried about. But obviously, Nico Williams, he's done it on the big stages, so maybe it's one of those when it gets to that kind of time, he'll step up. Like you saw what he did in the final against England, he was brilliant.
It's interesting though, because when we talk about Eberechi, Eze, and do we think the talk is getting into his head a little bit? Do we think it's getting into Nico's head a little bit?
Potentially. You know, he was wanted by Barca, wanted by a lot of clubs.
Yeah.
So maybe
literally after the Euros, there would not be one club in world football that would turn him down.
Yeah, and now he's not having his best season. So maybe again is one of those players who was kind of distracted.
Yeah, he's never been the most prolific goal scorer.
He's still very young.
Yeah, very young, 22 years of age.
Yeah.
But last season he got 11 assists and 5 goals. You know, he'll do very well to repeat that this year.
What was that? 11 assists, so 16 goal contributions. You have to double what he's on now to get that.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they're clearly a very good team. You know, you're not not only were they 4th in the La Liga, but also 2nd in the Europa League table as well. So they were very, very dominant in the early exchanges. So. And with the final being in Bilbao, if we were to face Bilbao in Bilbao, I don't make us favourites for that.
Yeah, no, that one I don't make us favourites for sure. You can't go into a final against someone else's home ground and be favourites for it with a team with the quality that Bilbao had, you know, top 4 in La Liga right now. And you're looking at the 2 Williams brothers on each wing. They've got such a synergy and they've got such a kind of way of playing with each other. They just know how to find each other, don't they? From wing to wing. So, yeah, it'll be very difficult to win that final against Bilbao. But I do think that Spurs got a very good chance of getting to the final this year.
Big question is, are we going to do it? Are we going to make the final? What's your gut telling you?
My gut's telling me probably not.
Where does our journey end?
Semis, probably.
Against Lazio?
Lazio. I mean, I see us being favourites against Lazio, but I see us probably going out.
I've got a feeling as well. I was going to say semis. I've got a feeling we lose in the semis to Lazio, but we could be feeling very different by the time that comes around.
I just look at Spurs' Europa League history, and we've gone into games being massive favourites. Majority of times we've gone out of the Europa League, and we've always seemed to ways to just screw it up. I mean, I look at that. Do you remember that PSV game? When Gomez played against us and put in an absolute worldie when Steve Malbronk had that volley and all that game we should have won.
You even remember the Sevilla tie? We were better than them over 2 legs, and they somehow they got those 2 early goals at White Hart Lane. Remember, we got absolutely robbed in Seville because Robinson, that was never a penalty.
Yeah.
And we somehow went at that. You remember, obviously, Zagreb, the debacle there.
Ramos and Dani Alves.
They did. And we were very good against them. We were really unlucky. Again, Shakhtar, obviously. Lost that one easily.
Shakhtar, we should have gone through. Ghent. Ghent. How did we lose to Ghent?
At Wembley.
Dele Alli got sent off.
Yeah,
and we were still better than them when we were down 10 men.
And we scored. Yeah, we won 1-0 up, I think, and we gave it away. Obviously the Zagreb debacle, Basel.
You know what I mean? Every single one of those ties.
Basel was on pens.
Yeah.
Was it Adebayor skying it? So we who'd we go out on? Benfica. That was probably one of the ones.
I was there in Benfica.
That was probably the ones you expect us to go out.
Yes, but I mean, we all hope was lost, and then we scored 2 goals in the last 10 minutes. And you're thinking there's a chance here, but no, there wasn't.
And then we've gone out to Dortmund under Poch. Went out to Fiorentina.
Yeah, I was in Fiorentina.
With the Soldado.
Yeah, he goes through on goal, and you're thinking, is he finally?
It was a 2-on-1, didn't he? And he decided to pass it. Anyway. The what we're trying to say is our Europa League record isn't great. So if we get to the semi-finals, it'll be the first time we got there since we won it.
Yeah.
So it'll still be something to do that, but not won't be good enough, I don't think. But
in recent history, we haven't got past the quarters. I think the quarters is the first. Yeah, the quarters
Basel
is the
was quarters. Yeah,
furthest we've been, and to go out against Basel in a quarters is disgraceful, really, when you think about it. And yeah, all of our Europa League exits over the last 10, 15 years have all been really bad, and we've been massive favourites for. So that does play into your mind going into this run. However, I do think, over the course of the next few months, we'll be getting players back. They'll be getting fitter. Hopefully, we can preserve some energy. We're resting some players in the Premier League games, so you've got that aspect. And all the other times, we'll probably going for stuff in the league, whether it be top 4, top 5, whatever. So now we've literally got nothing to play for in the Premier League, so we can real focus and prioritise this tournament.
Yeah, I think Romero is going to be so important during this run. I really believe that. He's had 3 tournament wins at international level. He knows how to get through these big ties, and I think he's going to have to really step up during these games if he's playing, because I think he's the one in the team who really knows how to win and how to win these tournaments. He's been there and done that on this kind of level. So I think if we're going to have a chance, I think Romero, I think it could be the guy to really help us.
You talk about Romero being pivotal to Argentina, which he was, but the guy to really getting them out of jail many, many times is Lionel Messi.
Yeah, without Messi. No, but where was Messi before Romero?
Where was Messi before Romero?
Yeah,
winning Ballon d'Ors.
I'm talking about the international stage.
Yeah, obviously.
How many trophies?
Yeah, I get that.
0.
He didn't. I know, but would Romero have these medals behind him without Messi?
Well, the only evidence we have is that Messi wouldn't have them without Romero.
Yeah, I mean they're both pivotal to their teams, but would you say that Romero was more pivotal to Argentina than Messi?
That's not what I'm saying. My whole point is that he's been, and the only one in our team who's been there and done it is Romero.
Agreed.
So, I'm saying he's going to be very pivotal when it comes to that winning experience and getting through these ties. I think he's the one that needs to help the rest of the team show them how it's done.
Yeah. Look, let's hope so. We've got a good chance. Just we need to muster up some belief. I'm sure if we go beat AZ and then we go beat Frankfurt, we just need to hope someone knocks out Lazio along the way.
That'd be great. If someone knocks out Lazio, then all of a sudden you're really thinking there's no stopping us getting there to the final. But There you go.
But that is our route. That is how Spurs can win the Europa League this year. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. How far do you think Tottenham will go in the Europa League? Can we go all the way to Bilbao? And can we lift the trophy in May? Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on.